Hello. So we're going to continue on with Module 7, page 16, and we're going to complete the exercises 1 through 4. So we now know that we need to find the largest perfect square that divides evenly into these numbers that appear under the square root. Those are called radicands. So 18, 44, 169, 75, those are all called radicands, and we need to find the largest perfect square that divides evenly into those numbers. So we could take it out, leave the number underneath the square root symbol that is not the perfect square, and that will give us an exact answer. So we will not be changing the value, we're only going to be simplifying. So remember, if you put these numbers into your calculator, because they're irrational, which means their decimals never repeat and they never terminate. So when you put them into your calculator, you're getting a rounded answer, which is not the same as simplifying. So to simplify the square root of 18, I'm going to find the largest perfect square that divides evenly into it. I'm going to write those factors underneath the square root symbol. 9 divides evenly into 18 2 times. Because I like to see it, I separate them to show which one is going to come out of the square root and which one's going to stay in. So the square root of 9 is 3. 2 is not a perfect square, so that stays in. So if you put in to your calculator the square root of 18, and then again, and then 3 square root 2, those decimals should match. Moving on to the square root of 44. 4 is the largest perfect square that divides evenly into 44. That's 11 times. 4 is a perfect square. That's going to come out of the square root to be 2. The square root of 4 is 2. 11 is not a perfect square. That stays in. As a check, you're going to put in the square root of 44 and then 2 square root 11, and those decimals should match. You only put them into a calculator to check to make sure the decimals match. The decimals are rounded answers. Leaving it in square root form, because it's irrational, that number can never be written in your lifetime because the decimals don't terminate and they don't repeat. Okay, the next one, the square root is 169. That number, 169, is a perfect square. So we could take that out completely. That is a rational number because that decimal terminates or repeats. Any repeating or terminating decimal is rational. And in this case, the decimal terminates. That's a rational number. The square root of 75. So the largest perfect square that divides evenly into 75 is 25. It divides evenly into 75 3 times. 25 is a perfect square. That's going to come out as 5 because the square root of 25 is 5, leaving me with the square root of 3 because 3 is not a perfect square. That stays inside. And these two decimals, when putting them into your calculator, will match.